ICGI Emission Status Report, February 17, 2025. Corporate Norm, Corporate Management Orbit Emission. EPP, effort per person is a fuel that drives the economy engine. Establish ICGI, the Institute of Corporate Governance of India. Mission ICGI Status Report, 17th February 2025. Here are the 5 key points summarizing the transcript. Number 1. The main mission is to establish the Institute of Corporate Governance of India, ICGI, as an Act of Parliament, emphasizing its importance for improving corporate accountability. Number 2. Two critical areas of focus are reducing the cost of consumption for manufacturing companies by working with the suppliers, often MSMEs, and improving investor assurance through governance due diligence for startups and VC funding. Number 3. I propose implementing a strategy of dividing large workforces into small teams with a focus on ethical responsibility to improve accountability and performance tracking. Number 4. The Union Budget 2025 I praise for focusing on 4 critical areas: agriculture, MSMEs, investment, and exports. I suggest that industries need to actively engage with these initiatives rather than passively receive them. Number 5. The concept of effort per person, EPP, is introduced as a key metric for measuring productivity and achieving growth targets, particularly in relation to India's 2047 economic goals.
My mission is to bring in the Institute of Corporate Governance of India with the approval of a parliament as an act of parliament. That's my mission. And I have been writing to the Prime Minister, Finance Minister, and the Home Minister. I'm very happy about it. Happy in the sense they are the people who govern the country, and they take the information which I had given, and I've responded very well in terms of sending it to some of the other departments of the government, as well as providing me with a number, status number, as to I can always go back. The interest that they have shown in the corporate governance, that is going from accounting to accountability, is a very important factor, and that is the status as on today. How we to eventually come to fruitful of getting the thing done as a corporate governance of India as an institute, separate independent institute. We'll look into it.
Let me give a few points as a preamble. The Mission ICGI Status Report as on today. Number 1. The Review 2024 goal set was unleashing other people's energy. It was set in December 23, 2024 goal. In December 24, I took this preview of 2025, and the goal set was establish ICGI, the Institute of Corporate Governance of India. At the same time, let me give you as on 15th of February, I completed 19 years in LinkedIn. It had certain information data that it provided. My content received in the last 1 year 67,323 views. Glad they sparked conversation. That's what I said. Then I had the privilege of following 326 inspiring individuals, learning from them and staying informed on the latest trends. Really great. Some of them are really big people. Then I got connected with about 157 amazing professionals that led to exciting opportunities and insights. I like to have a look at it, how we have transformed ourselves, and where to go in the rest of 2025. In December 2024, three young guys from Malaysia were running a Cleave.ai. They took LinkedIn by storm. LinkedIn unwrapped. They did to a lot of people, and they did one for me where they gave the statistics as well as their opinion. Going through all the 108 posts which I had done. They concluded your 2024 content persona is the thought leader. You consistently challenge perspectives and provoke critical thinking, empowering your audience with structured insights and bold recommendations about India's statistical and economic landscapes. That's what I intend to do in 2025 also.
Let me make it very simple. My objective is to bring the Institute of Corporate Governance of India an act of parliament. There is a need for it. That is my emphasis. Given enough information, latest being analyzing the Union Budget 2025, these four critical areas which have been explained by them, by the Finance Minister. One is on agriculture, MSME, investment, exports. All the four are given attached in that particular my analytics, where I have given my analytics in terms of auditors, in terms of agriculture, in terms of exports, in terms of investments. All of them are available. Please take a look. So when I say this, ICGI is a very important aspect, and that we have to have these control points, critical control points. I'll take only these two critical control points, which are critical for the purpose of meeting the standards, meeting the targets set by Viksit Bharat for 2047. Very important. Number one, cost of consumption. From my analysis of M&M, which I have done all the 308 process blocks, I find cost of consumption for manufacturing company is very, very difficult. Very difficult to reduce the costs. For a simple reason, the manufacturing companies, the upstream companies or the suppliers, these manufacturing companies do not have a control over the upstream companies. And M&M has done a very good job in terms of extending the code of conduct, which they have done very extensively. I greatly appreciate, to the suppliers. Nearly 40% of the suppliers have undergone or going through the code of conduct in supplying between them and the M&M, Mahindra and Mahindra. If you look at the upstream companies or suppliers, mostly they are the MSMEs. These MSMEs have nearly 50% of the exports of our country. And they employ about 110 million people. And they have nearly about 35% of the GDP. So MSMEs become more important than the mainstream, industrialized companies, big companies. In fact, it's Professor Archie Carroll, Professor Emeritus Archie Carroll of Georgia University. He had recently mentioned, for which I had replied also, 98% of big companies have failed, they didn't meet the targets for sustainability goals. 98%. Now, this is the case for M&M also. This is the case for RAL also, where I have done the analysis. So, this being the case, let us first focus on the MSMEs, on the suppliers. They are equally important or more important in my opinion. What you should do, if CARR 3%, M&M and RAL have failed, let us put that improve upon the MSMEs to reduce the cost. Unless they reduce the cost, you cannot reduce the cost for the bigger companies. It's a simple logic. So I would like to introduce, with the help or without the help of big companies have got a problem. They all go only for big four firms, McKinsey's. They have to spend a lot on the advisory on big consulting firms, and that is the main reason why they are not able to keep the target of 15% CAGR in their own companies is because of the fixed cost. The fixed cost, they have a control. That control they do not exercise. By not exercising control of their fixed costs, they lose in their profits. So I cannot advise them. They are too big. But I can advise at the MSMEs level, where if you guys want to recommend any of those upstream companies, the suppliers, I will train them. I will tell them why ICGI is very important to reduce the cost, both their fixed cost and as well as their variable costs, which is their raw materials input. There are several cases I will be able to explain. So that is number one. Number two, I found SoftBank CEO got connected with me after I mentioned to him on these areas. That's particularly how they fail the investor assurance. Investor assurance is very important. When you look at the investment, which is one of the major area which the Union Budget 2025 had made a mention, the investment in companies, in MSMEs, in various areas, they are also coming out with a National Manufacturing Association or whatever it is. So this is very important and crucial and critical area of the investor assurance. They go and provide the funding, the VC funding to many of the startups who fail. And it goes in terms of billions. And this is the most important thing. The investor, I said, investors buck up. If they do not insist on the governance duty, the due diligence at the point of investing, they give very freely $25 million and $100 million and $1 billion. We will enter at $1.5 billion and leave exit by $6 billion. All that poppycock. We cannot do that. You got to have the due diligence, governance due diligence done by each and every investment of VC funding, which had been the important aspect of the investor assurance. The companies or the major companies like SoftBank or BlackRock and so many people, and all of them, they are not concerned about their investment, and they sack people. That is their main way of reducing their fixed cost, in my opinion. So this is number two. Governance due diligence. I'll help every investor to insist, and every deal room of every big four, big five, big six firms who are helping the so-called startups to become the unicorn and all that, I will help. I will insist on governance DD. If you are ready for a governance DD, both the MSMEs as well as the startups, including the investment you have already made for several such companies, create the governance DD for CAGR 2030. What you are going to do, you got to do that. Measure, record, track the investment, what you are doing now and what you are expecting in 2030. That has been put in practice right now. This is the corporate governance. If the corporate governance are two critical areas, yesterday, this morning I was looking at Prime Minister Modi talking about the textile company. The textile company have already done $350 billion in 2030. How to approach that? That is recycling of the waste which is not ignored by the textile units. That's what Prime Minister Modi emphasized in yesterday's textile conference. So this is the two important aspects: reduce the cost of consumption, for which the upstream companies have to reduce the fixed cost, and as well as their suppliers. There's a lot of things like alum. If you look for the alum to reduce the cost, and it went up like anything, you find the hydrochloric acid, which was the raw material for alum, had closed. So the cost of alum went up like anything. I mean, some of the paper mill will come across. So you got to go back to the origin of each and every raw material for each and every output, record output. So if the cost goes up in one, the cost product output will also go up. So this is a simple logic which the corporate governance alone will be able to do that. I will explain. I have explained a lot of things. So I'm very happy about the Prime Minister, Finance Minister, and Home Minister to have listened to me so far. My request is that do not leave this ICGI. It's very important. ICGI as a mandatory requirement for each and every company must come from the government alone. It is non-mandatory as on today for very many companies. Adopt it right now. When it comes as a mandatory area, mandatory rule, then you will find it all of a sudden how it is possible. Don't do that. Right now, MSMEs, and as I said, the VC funding and the investor assurance, go for the governance DD. Get practice now, right now. Then the government will be in the easy position as and when it comes appropriately introduced as a mandatory grading. Since SEBI's new regulation, LODR, they're putting a draft everywhere. Well, they have to learn a lot. So I will leave it at that and let us see how it goes. Thank you.
In this page, I am giving the budgeting for Roadmap India 2047. In this, agriculture to take about 20% of the total $5 trillion by 2030. If that be the case, it's going to be about from $549.11 billion as of now in terms of value addition. It will reach to $1 trillion. It alone will have the blueprint for $1 trillion Indian agriculture. I had earlier said 2024, but I would be happy if we get in 2030. So this is what I have given the concept of EPP, that is effort per person is made available measuring by each FPO. FPO, as I said, is an amazing collection of people. In terms of setting targets and reaching them is elaborated. In the flat budget which we normally come across, it is insufficient. We will say the initiatives are given by the to enhance agriculture productivity, support farmers, and ensure sustainable growth in the sector. This purely government side, they want them to do that, the farmers and agriculture and whatnot. What the agriculturists and the farmers have to do is to take the effort. That is the DPP to make it happen. So I will explain to you it during this course. It's the same process, same which I apply for now in agriculture, as well as the MSME, as well as the investment, as well as the the exports part of it. Looking ahead, this is my main contention in this program of analyzing these four engines of development for India. we cannot go. The governance is a dynamic function. We cannot do the what had happened in the past and get it reported after about a year. In fact, if you look at the statistics of India's GDP from collected from various states is minimum 3 years old. We can't do that. In governance, when you are putting the initiative, ask for the agriculturists and the farmers and the MSMEs, but who hold about nearly 50% of the countries' exports. We cannot be looking at what happened in the last 3 months. No, we got to look at what will happen in the next 1 year, for which we must be ready on a daily basis. That's why governance is a dynamic function. You've got to get the governance report on a day-to-day basis. I keep on insisting on that. So if you look at ahead for the path forward involves not just policy support, but also a collaborative effort between the government and the various institutions and the enterprises. So this is the one which I'm emphatically tell the listeners: investing in capacity building, fostering innovation, and bring the governance. The instead of corporate governance of India is my main mission, so that we don't report on ex post facto. We got to report on ex ante. That's my main contention. And same applies to agriculturists and as well as here MSMEs. The technology, what I had written, I've given the post here, podcast episode number 10, draft national policy on the Ministry of MSMEs. I put a note on that some time back. So, extract from that, let me read. CREAM technology is a unified theory of management that establishes the interaction between policies, practices, and the society, like that of the well established mathematical and natural sciences, with a logical structure. The draft national policy for MSME, therefore, is critically looked at as to the beneficiaries who are the 110 million workforce of the MSME sector, who makes up a major chunk of society. The societal changes are brought into focus, and the policy accidents and the policy politics that have mired the MSMEs are converted into a fundamental force to be reckoned with in the Indian economy. Companies have to move forward from accounting to accountability, which is very much lacking mainly because accounting is not based on science but a debit credit hypothesis. It has tied the management down to ex post facto analytics. Accounting cannot bring in accountability, but corporate governance can. I propose a strategy of dividing large workforces into small 5 member teams, with one member focused on ethical responsibility to track performance and improve accountability. Corporate governance, analytics, disparate companies like say ICGI Bank or Deloitte can be compared with say Bajaj Auto. So this is the one you can download all these 6 files. It gives the introduction to the corporate atomic structure and the detailed analytics or fixing the standards as well as governance standards for M&M and Reliance. This would help you to start in terms of making yourself important for yourself, because when we say 2047 Viksit Bharat has got a target, the target has to be achieved whether you are as on today. I found both M&M and as well as Reliance are not fit, are not capable as on today to reach on the target of 2047 at a particular percentage of CAGR of 15%. One can do that for 2%, 3%. Then where is your contribution for Viksit Bharat 2047? You got to fix the CAGR of minimum 15% for each company and go towards that. And that is what this antics of M&M and Reliance have come about, and you should try. Promotion mission gift Z National Manufacturing Mission depend greatly on the investor's assurance, considering the technical capability to perform contractual obligations toward World Bank projects, climate bonds, critical areas involving supply chain management with industrial countries looking for India's expertise. Here I have analyzed everything in these five different podcasts. Empowering auditors, number one, they themselves giving the self governance. Number two is empowering auditors ESG audit, which gives a society assurance. Number three, empowering auditors, which are SACP of bank audit. The hazard analysis is a critical control point because the bank and the money factors are the most critical in terms of making all these MSMEs and other companies to go forward in terms of ethical responsibility, which I call it as economy assurance, because this is once these banks do well and assured the economy is coming through, we can look forward. Otherwise, we will be tottering around. Number four is SYS governance standards, governance over financial performance. Financial performance depends upon how we govern, and the governance standards SYS governance is subject object self-governance standards, which one I think one has to look, and very many people have looked at it. And finally, I said buck up big four audit firms. FAC report is a public assurance. That is a major cause of alarm in my analysis when I went through what these big four guys are doing all over the world, and resultant effect as far as India is concerned. That is unacceptable as far as I am concerned. It has to, they have to back up. And I'm happy that one of the major investors, SoftBank guys also got connected with me, because I have told very clearly is investor assurance depends totally on the investors. The investors do not care about it, that how well their money is being taken care or run by MSMEs or other big companies, or any of those contracts being given. It is up to the investor first. In between the deal rooms, whatever they recommend, you got to bring the governance DD. Is a very, very important advice which I would like to give to the investors. It's up to you. To conclude, this Union Budget 2025 is an amazingly good one in the sense analyzing the engines of development in four critical areas and going forward with giving a lot of support. Government in terms of giving the support, particularly on the national manufacturing mission and for the export mission. These are all wonderful. But it is up to the industry to take. It's not that somebody is giving you a gift that you put it in a pocket and go away. What I am recommending is the monitoring system. Is measure, record, implement, and track. This is what National Manufacturing Mission has to look to. That is, whatever that is being said in terms of your 15% or 20% CAGR, introduce that to very many companies, as many companies as you can. I'm here to assist you. There should not be any problem in doing it. I'll tell you why. These companies, particularly as Alan Savory said, they're the best of the candle makers, do not find the opportunity of electric lights. This is exactly what our companies are. They are all very busy with the supply chain management. Some have managed to get the things through. So they are not able to get an idea how it could be done by this EPP per person. So it's a well articulated information system, or what I call is a corporate management orbiter mission. It has a complete information available, and anybody can straight away take and go ahead with it. As I said, there's at least one guy within a company has that think tank who can, as a listening post, you are through. Because we are not looking at a company, we are looking at about 100,000, 200,000 people within a particular company. So it is going to be generate a lot of interaction between the government as well as the companies and make the profitability as the main issue. Growth is the important issue. Unless the growth comes of at least about 15%, 20%, we cannot meet that 2047 as Viksit Bharat. It is not possible unless everybody takes care. That's why APP is a very important issue. That is what I strongly recommend. Every year one budget comes and goes, but this year budget I think is spectacular, and I appreciate Nirmala Sitharaman done a tremendous job.